All right, so I'd like to talk about um, how to get poses that are dramatic, poses that maybe not just poses, more like how to give your characters a soul, and get something where you're not just I don't know how to explain this. It's just there's a lot of dead drawings, and it's just how to make your drawings seem a little bit less dead. And well, actually, the first thing I should say is nobody has a soul. You are a soul. You have a body, but you're a soul. So the thing is, it's not about trying to give these. We're not going to be trying to giving these. We're not going to be able to give our characters soul. We're not giving them souls. They are souls. We have to do something with the body to make it, make people understand that there's a soul there. So kind of hard starting this whole topic off. Anyway, so what makes it work? Why does it work? What makes the pose interesting? What makes us think that the character is alive? I would say the character needs to look like he has goals. He needs to want something. In this case, you can tell that it's very clear what's going on. He's looking around the corner. He's got a gun ready. There's purpose to his actions, and there's expression to that. But the expression's not just on his face; it's in his body language. Things like this, where the character's eyes can be tracking something. That is another thing that I find helps. Eyes expression. We're showing that the character is reacting to something. So if you're trying to start off a drawing and you don't know what to do, you don't know where to start the drawing, you don't know what kind of pose to do, have your character react to something. It can be anything. It can be a fly. It can be the audience. There has to be something that your character's reacting to. You need a target for your character's attention. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes we don't have a target for the character's attention. And in those cases, you still need something more than just the character. You still need to add at least one other object to the scene, one other character. In this case, it's not really the guy down here that we're paying attention to. It's the little bird up top, right? I set up kind of a ridiculous scene, but it still gets people to wonder, what's going on. Who are these two people? If anything, he looks like a homeless guy, and that bird is his pet. It's like, if I wanted to, I could probably even add like a little tin cup. And basically he's got his own little act with the bird, right? And so there, now we've given them something. We've got a bit of a story that goes behind it. So I don't just draw characters that are just doing some pose or another pose. When you're trying to draw the storytelling drawing, or you're trying to show a character that is someone with a soul, someone who is a soul with a soul with a body, this is part of it. Even things like this. You don't always have to show expressions. You don't always have to show faces. Again, this is body language, right? It's again, I've given one character, a target. There's a target. There's, you can already tell, like, the body language is clear. Hey, pay attention to me. Hey, or maybe she's comforting him. It's part of how I put that slouch in his shoulders. Like that's the way the arm trails back. These are all, part of the body language. And I find that's what's missing in a lot of amateur drawings, is that it's not that, we're all, right now I think, when you're starting out drawing, we all get really worried about whether or not the anatomy is correct, whether or not the rendering is correct, or the drawing is correct, or we worry about things like style. But I find that this is the most important stuff. This is the stuff that makes the drawing go. The stuff. It's, for me, at least for me, it's become the reason to draw. As much as I'd like to draw engine blocks and tinfoil and all these ridiculous hard things, just kind of to show how skilled I am. These other things this is where the kind of feeling and emotion and the art side of things, and this is the powerful stuff that I think needs to be in art for us to be able to really call it art. So let's see. All right. So I showed you some examples. I'm going to just create some new ones. And you'll notice that I always like to put up these little frames, right? So again, these are all just proposals, possibilities. You could take anything. You could take inanimate objects. If you're trying to start out a drawing, let's try an inanimate object. Let's try, a coffee mug, right? So the moment you have a coffee mug, now we have something that can act as kind of this central object of attention. We can have a person who is right. He can be holding his cup of coffee and savoring the smell. That is a giant cup of coffee. But anyway, that's one possibility. Just roll this all back. We have a person who we can take that coffee cup. Let's instead have an empty coffee cup instead, and the person now right. So he can be looking inside to see if it's he's seeing that it's empty. We can put the coffee cup against his ear. Put a little string on it and have him hold on to the coffee cup. In fact, if I wanted to, I can. Here's the other thing: is that now that we've got this kind of tin can telephone thing going on, I mean, that's another excellent prop, right? I mean, telephone conversations. You see all the things that people do when they're on the phone. Right? So I mean, telephone conversation. The telephone is an excellent prop because it shows a person who can be doing any number of things, reacting in so many different ways. So inanimate props, objects, these are good things for trying to create pictures that, are showing some sort of emotion, some sort of soul. You're just, what else can we do? If it's not an inanimate object, let's say it's another person. So for now, I'll just draw one dummy person who's just kind of standing there. Now, that's the other thing, is that at first I can just treat the initial person, the initial kind of target or subject as emotionless, as just another object. And now I can, with the other character, And after doing this, right, after having the first character in there reacting to, well, having the second character react to the first one, now I can, this is the purpose of the placeholder, right? It's like, now I can get rid of the placeholder, and now I can have the other character going, right? So, this is the kind of stuff that, really helps when you're trying to, get that kind of dynamic posing. You're trying to get something that shows storytelling, that shows, there's an actual person and it's not just some lifeless doll. You're not just drawing lifeless characters. And there's so many ways in which characters can be paying attention to one another. It doesn't always have to be just looking at. I mean, it's like, here, let me just draw another one. Okay, so I draw a person who's basically, he looks kind of upset. And now, I can do so many other things with what the other character is doing. The other character can be, right? I can have him poking, right, with a fingertip. He can use his elbow. All right? So this is another thing that works. Like all of this is showing is just this invasion of personal space. So I mean, there's just so many different ways in which you can invade someone else's personal space. Right? Just sticking your head really close. Or you can be holding onto his leg and holding his foot in the air, and it's all stinky and stuff. Right? So this is what I'm trying to get at, is that it's very easy to come up with this kind of stuff. It's amusing, it's interesting, it's fun. It doesn't require a lot of skill. I mean it's a skill that's not dependent on amazing draftsmanship or even amazing perspective or any of this, all the other technical stuff that's really hard to get. You can get instant, fast results. It just you kind of have to think a little bit into it, right? So, these are all things that I think are very important. And when you're trying to draw that first character, right, then sometimes, okay, fine, like sometimes you might need to draw those occasional situations where someone is aimless, lost, right? And so in those cases, sometimes it's best just not to even draw any facial expression, blank facial expression. But the fact is, he's still looking downwards. He's still at least, this pose, it says, he's aimless, he's lost, he's thinking, he doesn't, It's, you know, there's no, it's still a clear message. So that's what I'm trying to say is, you know, draw in a way that gives off clear messages. You know, give your characters wants, needs, and, you know, to me, this whole thing, this is kind of the there's just this huge range of emotions that you can go through, and you know, it's not hard. It's not hard once you, you know, once you just once you get the hang of it. It's not hard. So I mean, if you're ever like kind of wondering what to draw and you just can't get interested in your own drawings, or you're stuck, try some of this stuff out, because I think we worry right now. You know, we worry too much about whether or not something will look cool, or if it's an awesome design, or if this thing is original, or you know, and those things, they don't necessarily make a drawing interesting, don't necessarily contribute to the entertainment value of a drawing, nor do they necessarily promote a message or have, you know, meaning in of themselves. I think it's good that we have, you know, very technically difficult drawings, and there's some truly breathtaking things out there, but it's not the end all and be all. It's something that facilitates, you know. But this type of stuff that I'm trying to show you right now, it's the other side of the coin. This is what I believe to be the art within art. You know, the reason to draw, and something that is just not present enough in a lot of very technically advanced drawings.